to touch upon the more things change, the more things don't change, is that's exactly what PoR is doing. It's taking us back to our ancestors' age of the barter system.
Yeah.
But leveraging it with data, right?
Welcome to our episode 14. Well, today we are going to focus on a discussion about blockchain, all right? Blockchain technology, Web3, and the decentralization solution, all right? And today we got a amazing guest here with us, Sean Koh, whose family office has invested in various blockchain technology companies, or developing one himself. And, Sean, one of the previous interviews that you did on Mindflex community podcast, right? You mentioned the blockchain trilemma. Okay, I've never trilemma. This is the first time. But can you explain to us, like, what is the biggest problem that blockchain associated with blockchain, specifically relating to the kind of the original intent of creating the decentralization?
Sure.
Yeah.
And just to clarify for the audience, I don't really particularly, I would say, invest in blockchain technology. I've been involved for a long time, realizing that there's alternatives to blockchain that provide a more decentralized ecosystem for all. So, blockchain, I really admire, what the industry has done. I was also an early market maker for cryptocurrencies in South Korea in 2016. But blockchain has inspired me to create a solution outside of blockchain, which is what will be the subject of the discussion today. In terms of your question, what is the blockchain trilemma? So this unique term I can't take credit for. It was coined by Vitalik Buterin. He's one of the co-founders of Ethereum. And he pointed out that there's three, or the trilemma is obviously three, problems with how blockchains are validated. And it boils down to, number one, decentralization. So if you look at how blockchains are validated and how cryptocurrency transactions are administered, they're always administered by a third-party entity. So there's three main ways, and I know we'll touch upon this deeper. There's two main ways, that blockchain transactions are validated, and this is what's called a consensus mechanism. One is called proof of work. That's what Bitcoin is validated with. In Bitcoin, you have workers, which are called miners. I'm sure you may have heard of Bitcoin miners. These are these large server farms that generate a lot of computing, consume a lot of electricity. And basically, they're the ones that validate, Bitcoin transactions. However, because of the large carbon footprint that it takes, other large blockchains like Ethereum have moved away from proof of work to proof of stake, where instead of machines or workers or miners validating the transaction, in this case the third party is called stakers. So whoever owns like a significant stake of the network, which is represented as tokens, so your proportion of tokens, they're chosen as validators. But
so that basically boils down to like a really small number of stakers, right?
Correct. Yeah.
That's
and exactly. So despite the intention of blockchain to be decentralized, because of proof of work with miners, as a third party, and proof of stake as stakers as a third party, that third party eventually becomes another centralized entity that controls the network, and that's the first challenge represented in the blockchain trilemma, that eventually blockchains run on proof of work or proof of stake, they become centralized and they're no longer decentralized.
Correct.
The second issue boils down to scalability. So think about it, if you have all these millions of transactions and it's just a handful of people that need to validate it. Obviously, the validators are going to become overwhelmed. It's going to create...
As the popularity of
the blockchain grows.
Yeah.
And then there's going to create congestion, which is going to create outages. And that's why we've seen blockchains from time to time kind of shut down and have to be restarted, right? And create different forks, and so forth and so on. So the second problem within the blockchain trilemma is this issue of scalability.
Of the security.
Yes, scalability.
Scalability, okay.
Yeah, scalability. And then the third is the security aspect, because when everything is public and you know where the validators are, it's very easy to kind of infiltrate the validation process, the wallets, and the hackers know exactly where to go. They could do a DDoS attack, and then as soon as you know it, there's a wormhole that extracted billions of dollars of crypto, in a nefarious way. So the blockchain trilemma is kind of pointing out the fact that proof of work, proof of state, and blockchain at large eventually will suffer, from these three issues. Number one, once again, the issue of lack of decentralization. Number two, lack of scalability, and number three, lack of security.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Man, I think that explanation of the trilemma paves the way to the introduction of your invention.
Yep.
Proof of reception, POR.
Yes.
So you got the POS, proof of stake,
Yeah.
POW. Now we got the POR.
Yeah.
Okay. And I think the purpose of POR is to really...
And you don't want to be a POW, prisoner of war.
Oh.
Which is what, these third parties create these artificial prisons, unfortunately, around us. Yeah.
Yeah, no POWs.
Yes.
But the POR purpose is really to prove the reception of value between people or entities, right?
Yes.
And based on my understanding of the POR, your goal is to really bring trust back to the online interaction / transactions, right?
Yes.
And you call this POR, proof of reception, a better internet.
Yes.
Built on human intelligence versus artificial intelligence, right? And I think in 2021, a couple years ago, your company obtained a provisional patent on this revolutionary invention. So this is not just a thing that Sean is thinking, having on his drawing board is happening. So share with us, what is this PRO and what is your vision behind it?
Yeah, so POR, proof of reception, in the simplest terms, defines reception as validation. So, right now, as we're conversing, and as we're conversing, with the audience, as you receive my information or my data, your reception in your mind is the validation that stores it as a memory on your local ledger, right? So it's kind of taking that human biology and we've customized it into a way to truly make, online interactions decentralized. Because previously, as we alluded to, within the traditional Web2 world, there's centralized validation of different companies, using AI to kind of control our interaction online. Within proof of work,
putting feeds in
sure,
into your Skrill.
Yeah. Within proof of work and proof of stake, there's another AI staking algorithms, mining algorithms that validate the transfer of values. But how can we create a new paradigm where there is no third party and where we can solve the blockchain trilemma? And that's when I came up with proof of reception. I think it was in the fall of 2021. There's transactions happening all around us naturally. So in the fall, we're in New York, New Jersey. We see the leaves change color from green to these vibrant reds, yellows, and different hues. Is there a third party creating that transaction? No, it's
naturally.
Yeah, it's the tree or the leaf or the branch receiving the signals from its environment, temperature, sunlight, so forth and so on, and the leaves naturally changing. And, I just kind of saw this as kind of a, God-created natural validation protocol or consensus mechanism. And at the time, I, started getting interviewed by different IP law firms. And the leading IP law firm in the world, by far, is Fish & Richardson. They patented the light bulb, the telephone, the aircraft. So they're very picky with what applications they take on. So after I met them, they confirmed the uniqueness of my invention. And then, we were able to file the provisional patent, as you alluded to, and now we're scaling globally. But To break down proof of reception, now that you have kind of the the metaphorical concept of it, breaks down into a suite of different software applications. So first, we have what's called a port, PORT.
Terminal.
Yeah, proof of reception terminal. And just like us as individuals are able to validate, communication directly in the real world, our port enables us to self-validate transactions with one another on a peer-to-peer basis.
And each person is sort of their own port.
Exactly,
right?
yeah.
Okay.
So if you think of like what a port is, like in the real world, you see an airport,
Shipport, yeah.
seaport.
Seaport, yeah.
Seaports are connected by many ships. Well, this is a port of your personal humanity, and you only need one ship because we're like talking in the digital world. There's no physics involved. That's the relationship. So as long as the port, my port and your port, Eric, has a relationship, we can establish that connection and we can validate values back and forth. Now, in order to do the validation, we have what's called portions. Portions, PORTION, you'll see all of our software applications have POR nomenclature, stands for a value. So it could be music, it could be data, it could be geolocation, whatever it is. I have this portion. It's also pronounced as port ion because we know in the world of chemistry, positive, negative ions naturally match, to create molecules. So that's kind of saying that with POR, our values should just automatically match on our preferences.
Okay.
Now the preferences are called portraits, the traits of the POR. Just like we have our genetic traits as humans of what describe us, our uniqueness, in genetic code, the portraits takes the portion, the value, and allows your port to define, okay, if I have this value or portion, what are the rules by which I want this portion to be validated by another port in order to exchange? It could be a financial payment. It could be some type of service.
Could be a donation.
It could be a donation, whatever. It could be credentials.
Yeah.
So that is the portraits of customizing the portion and quote unquote charging it so that it becomes an ion.
Gotcha.
Right? And then thereafter, we have what's called portals, port access links. So if our value is not stored on our local repository like our device, then a portal is our bridge into our bank account. Because our banking money is, it's at Wells Fargo, it's at Chase, it's at, all these different institutions. We have portals into over 12,000 banks that are live right now so that I can kind of prove my money to you. Now, all these ports, they're consolidated in what's called a portfolio. Portfolio stands for port folder, input, output. It's another acronym. And that's our networks. Because when we have a folder of our ports, that's basically our relationships or our network. And now, without third-party control, we can allow our networks and allow this technology infrastructure to be able to allow us to do POR in a scalable way. And then the final component is porage. So age, the POR age, is a timestamp. And the problem with third-party validation is these third-party validators are validating the transaction after the transaction has been initiated by the two parties, right? So let's say I send something to Eric, the third-party validator validates it, they put it on the ledger. What we're doing in this scenario is saying, as you receive what I sent you, you are updating it to the ledger. So it saves time to create the most accurate timestamp within the database of that transaction rather than going through miners, stakers, or some other centralized third party. So that kind of...
Because I already have a idea or image of your portrait for me to validate
exactly
whom I'm dealing with.
And that provides finality, right? Instead of going to a third party to do that. So that provides, once again, solves the blockchain trilemma, more decentralization, more scalability, more security.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. I wonder why that hasn't happened yet until now.
Yeah. I mean, one of the primary reasons is we weren't able to run a port on our devices until much recently.
Because of the...
Yeah. When the internet started, the phones were not powerful enough, or there weren't not even any phones. You need to use your computer, remember? Dial-up modem. Remember that sound? AOL. That we only know, our generation knows.
Net zero.
Exactly. AOL, whatever that was. But essentially, at the time, we had no way to run a port. But now our devices are, having enough computing, have enough energy so that we can do the validation on the edge. And this edge validation is what's being adopted by leaders in some of the most sophisticated technological industries over the last 2.5 years.
That's amazing. And in fact, that's a good way to kind of go to the next question. Can you provide some examples, right, of application for POR and I think more importantly for our audience here, right? Like, what are the benefits for the businesses to utilize this invention?
Yeah. So, with POR, there's a variety of different use cases. I can't go over them all today.
Sure.
But I'll highlight a few.
Yeah.
So the first problem we solved was within the world of charitable contributions. Mm-hmm. And the beauty of the port, it's just a software upgrade, binary code that's retrofittable into any interface. Mm-hmm. So we use kind of existing social media interfaces where, I'm sure you've all given money to a charity before, but you don't know where the money ends up.
Yep.
That's because, once again, there's a third party that needs to validate that donation. Mm-hmm. In our case, we allow the recipient, the person that's in need, to self-validate their credentials to get the donation. So, let's say that, you're a generous donor. I'm a refugee, in Ukraine. That's one of the areas where we helped during the Russian invasion of Ukraine. Mm-hmm. You're very charitable. You want to help the people in Ukraine. And let's say that, for me, I have a phone, so I can validate the portraits of saying, obviously I'm in Ukraine. Mm-hmm. Here's GPS providing my location from my phone. Mm-hmm. I can also provide my biometric, my face ID, tied to a government issued ID to prove I am who I say I am, this Ukrainian refugee. Mm-hmm. I can also provide video, photos and some footage to show my distress.
The environment.
Exactly. And because this is, much more efficient than waiting, for a third party to send your money eventually and find someone.
Like a Red Cross.
Exactly. I mean,
nothing wrong
with them, but
nothing
I'm just saying this is an alternative,
Yes.
that individuals can use and eventually will help the Red Cross as well to be more efficient, like we're doing with the UN and other organizations. But now, because I validated these credentials, POR enables the portraits to send your money directly to my bank account. Mm-hmm. So that's something that we scaled, and we just donated our technology through what we call the Web-Trinity Foundation. So all of my IP is secured in a 501c3 called the Web-Trinity Foundation, which frees, empowers, and protects the data, time, and skills of 8 billion humans. So now if you're a poor villager or someone who has no money, you can leverage POR to kind of convert your humanity into your own currency to afford whatever you need. In this use case with the Ukrainian refugees, it was for a donation. We've also worked with celebrities like Angela Simmons, who has 8 million followers, to help single mothers in New York City self-validate their credentials for a Target gift card. Mm-hmm. So that's one of the early use cases. Thereafter, we got into entertainment, where my background in music, unfortunately for creators, there's another injustice where creators are at the mercy of third-party technology platforms. So if I'm if I have music, I only get a fraction of a penny from Spotify, and other streaming platforms. If I'm a video creator and I upload it on YouTube, I'm just, barely making nothing.
A million views is what, 5,000?
Exactly. and it's these third party, once again, intermediaries and validators that benefit from that relationship between creator and consumer. So with POR now, you can create a portraits for your content saying, I don't want to get a fraction of a penny, I want to get $10. Mm-hmm. And then now you have, exponential returns on your asset. And then you have those real fans, as, subscriptions for content platforms, becomes more of a real thing, more people are abandoning their monthly subscription because they don't want to get all this, random content. They want to get specifically content of the creators that they love. So now with POR, they can subscribe directly to their favorite creator. The creator can create the portraits for their content, and you can create transactions directly between the creator and the consumer, taking the value that otherwise would have been kind of quote unquote stolen by third-party validators and bringing it back to the creator.
Yeah, so you're making this thing true DTC.
Correct.
Right?
Yeah.
And it's a tool enabling
100%.
you go DTC.
Yeah, and also in the world of finance, there's a lot of intermediaries involved, but now let's say I'm an asset owner. I want to create the portraits for my building in New York City, and anyone that validates that as long as that money comes into my account, they're the owner in one step. So now as we grow into all these different use cases, the most sophisticated one that I recently spoke about in Monterey, California at a GeoBiz Summit recently, and at a Consumer Electronics Show in Las Vegas, which was just last week, is in the world of data validation among hardware processors, so the chips that are in your devices, and also within satellites that are orbiting the Earth.
So they can talk to each other?
Exactly, directly based on POR. Because right now with satellites, it's very inefficient how we are able to transfer data because we only have a line of sight to a satellite for a certain amount of time in a given day. But now you can input whatever you want and then let the satellites leverage POR portraits to, find the credentials of which satellite is friendly so that they don't, leak, important data, to a hostile actor. They can find which satellites are in their vicinity. They can find out, create a new shared economy in space, saying if I use your satellite to transfer a signal, I can give you a royalty. And also we're working with, 3-letter agencies, on very confidential projects where now directly from the source of the data, we can input that data directly to a warfighter, because typically that data would go from the source, through validation, through servers, through fusion, all these different things. Now it could go directly to the edge. And that's really the goal of our national defense, to get data to warfighters more quickly and accurately as well.
And keep us safe.
Exactly.
Thank you for your work. There's a saying, right, Sean? Like the more things change, the more things don't change. And what I mean by that is, establishing the trust has always and will always be the first step in any relationship or transaction, right? And I think with your POR, it seems to provide a clear or maybe more accurate picture or portrait, as you say, of a person, kind of as a way to validate the source.
Yep.
Okay. So amazing. I wish I'm looking forward to hearing more exciting development. And how can people find out more about it?
Yeah, so and also to touch upon the more things change, the more things don't change, that's exactly what POR is doing. It's taking us back to our ancestors' age of the barter system.
Yeah.
But leveraging it with data, right? And it's creating that trust automatically because you don't have to trust one another because you already received what you wanted, right?
And it's already.
So there's no way to spoof that because if I didn't receive it, I'm not going to finalize proof of reception.
Correct.
Right. So in order to learn more about this, you could go to proofofreception.org. And you can email POR@proofofreception.org. And you can also look for new materials coming out of the Web-Trinity Foundation, where our mission is to really empower people to become their own validator. And how businesses are benefiting from this is we are generating, to our estimates, 50 to 95% more efficiency for companies. So companies are not only saving a lot of money because now they can outsource the validation to their customers, meaning they don't need to have the cybersecurity compliance, cloud.
They can minimize.
They can minimize.
They can
all
never
those
eliminate.
Costs, right? But eliminate the data validation portion.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
And then eventually, now, with the savings that they're generating, they're able to donate a portion of their taxable income to the Web-Trinity Foundation, which is a 501c3. So they have a built-in write-off in their software subscription. And we're able to kind of use those donated funds so that, poor villagers, in various countries, we recently started working with the UN to proliferate POR across SIDS, which is a small island developing states where they don't have local data infrastructure. So now every citizen can leverage their phone to become a validator and create, a more efficient internet that's protected within their borders as well. So check out proofreception.org. Look out for more updates from the Web-Trinity Foundation. And you can, email POR@proofreception.org.
Okay.
Yeah.
If you didn't write it down, it's okay. We're going to include it in the show description, okay? But that's it for episode 14. Thank you, Sean, again, for pouring the concept on the POR and the future of Web3. Thank you. And make sure you subscribe, click on the notification button so you don't miss out the future episode.